well, this is Aaron Squire. I have one child that's asleep here, so I want to open the rest of these packs here. And so we're just going to go and do that. So we're going to open all the rest of our packs. I already opened the two. I basically bought like 200 packs, and I got 2 primal packs out of 200. So maybe every 100 packs you get like a primal-ish somewhere in there. So let's go ahead and open some packs. So all my primals are gone. You can see all my chests that I've been picking up, which I can't use just yet. We got 177 packs to get through, so it's going to be a little while. We had some problems with the animations the last time. I also had problems with children. Actually, I'll probably do all, but no, I could probably just do them all. If I need a draft, I'll just buy packs to draft with. So that's of course where you would roll your chest, and you can only roll on the chest if you have gold. You know, you only get gold by doing PvE content. So yeah, we don't have PvE content, so you can't roll on chests. I kind of wonder if the chest stuff is in the game yet, or if it's if it's there behind the scenes. Oh, there's that Inquisitor. Inquisitor is a rare card, which is crazy because it's so powerful. It could easily have been a legendary. There's a chance that in the future we might see people playing less than 4 of in a deck, but thing is, it kind of competes for space with the. There's your Ragefire, of course. It kind of competes with for space with the Vampire King. So Ragefire, of course, is going to be a must for all those mono Ruby players. There's going to be basically mono Ruby players that have spent a lot on their deck are going to have their playset of Ragefire, and newer players that are just building up their deck probably won't have that. Plant Garden, not the best. So 2 Plant Gardens in 3 packs. I think the game's trying to tell me something right now. Let's see what else we can get here. My stream seems to be dropping frames, probably because I'm uploading a video right now. Luckily, I'm not doing anything else right now. Hey, what's going on, Divim? I'm just opening some packs. I got like 170 to get through, so this might be a little bit boring for you. I'm considering playing some Diablo 3. I'm supposed to go and see the Captain America movie, but people aren't communicating with me, so I may not end up going to see the Captain America movie today. So I'm not going to go alone. Not going to be that guy. Yep. I used to work at a movie theater when I was in high school. Oh, there you go. There's a zombie plague. That's legendary. I used to work in a movie theater, so I've been to movies by myself. It kind of sucks. Even though all you do is, you sit next to someone. I mean, at least you get the experience of walking out of the theater and, getting to talk about it. I'm really sorry about all the frames that are being dropped right now. I'll probably restart the stream after I'm done opening all these packs, but I'm just going to keep it going right now. I've got the local recording. This will get syndicated on YouTube, so it shouldn't be too bad. Again, I'm uploading my deck building show from last night with what's his name, with Revolution, which was a really fun show. Really fun to have him on. Protectorate Defender, another one that's going to be a staple for a lot of decks. Protectorate Defender, I feel like it's like that $5 to $10 type of card that's kind of a staple, but not completely necessary for a lot of decks. It goes in the, I like to play it with, what do you call it, Shin Hair, yeah. There's that Ritualist, which recently got, this didn't get buffed, but you need this for Shin Hair if you're going to try to run that. You need a play set of those. Shin Hair is going to be probably one of the cheaper decks to put together just because it's just not very competitive right now, so, I mean, after we get out there. John said something about basically having a store. He hasn't really clued me into exactly what that means, but Cloud the Mountain God. So I'm basically just opening packs because we're going to lose all of our cards pretty soon. We're going to beta. They already announced that. That's going to be on the 26th, or it's basically next week. Hold on. Oh, I gotta shut this. This is running off. Alright, it is on, yeah, it's like the 26th, Thursday or something, so. There's a Mastery of Time. That's legendary, rightly so. 165 decks, things to go. So the reason why I'm doing this also is just so drafters can see. Somebody out there I know is going to be taking this stuff, throwing it into a database or doing whatever with it. Unfortunately, not all the cards are coming up all the time, so I don't know why they aren't flipping or what the deal is there. They might have done that on purpose because they knew people like me were going to do this. So, I don't know. I feel like it's a glitch, though. They didn't mean for that to happen. You can also open up 10 packs at a time, but that doesn't tell you which uncommons and commons came in each pack, so... I mean, they are kind of getting screwed up a little bit because, again, it's not flipping everything. There's that Demolisher. I haven't seen Demolisher get used very much these days. Definitely got a lot worse as you had to pay 7 in one turn to do his special ability. Your opponent could actually respond to him by killing him, and then he's useless. So, definitely a lot worse than what he used to be. He's also a 2-2. He used to be a 3-3 a long time ago. So, yep. Did some draft this morning. I realized something after I got done or losing in the first round to somebody. It was a single elim. This guy drafted a ton of removal. He had 2 burn, and I mean, yeah, I blame that for losing that. He had 2 burn, a repel. It was just ridiculous. His removal was just crazy. There's Hop Hero. Another one that's really difficult to use. The spin up on Hop Hero is probably a little bit too much. What do we get? We got Ember Spire Witch. Of course, that's another great reserves card or sideboard card for people. 160 packs to go. Last video I did about 50 packs in 30 minutes, so plus I had to fight children to do it. So hopefully this will be about that speed. Dro's Colossal Walker, of course, a big staple for a lot of those Eye of Creation decks that are using that guy, especially ones that go into Diamond, so they can untap him or unexhaust him. Unexhaust is probably not really a word. Is the transmission pretty bad? You guys need to let me know. If the transmission is really bad, I can reset my transmission, and sometimes that helps. But again, I'm uploading on YouTube, and I think that's one of the big reasons why this is happening right now, why it's going so poorly. Because I've got my laptop is doing the uploading while I'm on my main computer streaming here. Eternal Guardian. Oh, there you go. There's a legendary. This card probably actually won't be that expensive because typically you're going to see maybe 2 of them. You'll need 2 for a lot of decks. You won't need to play a playset of Eternal Guardian, so I don't think he's going to be too bad. Someone asked me about on my Twitter feed this last week, and I touched on it a little bit on my show this week, how much I think the cards are going to be valued at. And again, it's really a lot of times whatever you're going to barter somebody to pay for a card. So it's okay, how much do I really want this card, and then how many packs of cards could I have bought instead, and could I have gotten something to trade for that card? Pretty good chance that could have happened as well. Are people trading this card? So for instance, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, for instance, it's worth about $100, $110, because people aren't trading it. You get it 1 in 2 boxes. You get one back in that time period, so that's why it's worth so much. Whereas pretty much everything in the first set is going to be tradable, I would say. Even the Angels that are going to be highly sought after, that's probably going to be one of the most expensive cards. Is going to be that Angel, because it's legendary and you need a playset of them. So I would say anything you need a playset of, and a playset being 4 cards, if it's legendary, that's going to be one of the most expensive cards. We've seen this before with well, just before the block rotation, it was the card I hate. One of the cards I feel like they really made a mistake with, which was it was an elemental something or other. I forget what it was called. It was basically a card that said it was a 2/2 that when your opponent cast spells, or when it died, it put an XX into play, where X equaled the number of creatures you had in play. So it was at least a 1/1. I forget what it was called. anyways, that card was worth $40 just because people didn't want to buy the set, so there was crappy cards in the set, so there weren't that many in circulation, and you needed 4 of them, and they made it legendary. And it was like not like a 4 of like the Angel is a 4 of. Like the Angel's a 4 of, but you could play less, and because it costs 5. You know, if it's in your opening hand, it has a downside. But this thing was a definite, like, there's no possible way in Standard you would ever play less than 4 of this card if you play it. So, like, cards like that, it's really frustrating that they would do stuff like that. In the Wizards of the Coast, that is. I feel like things that I need to be 4 of, hopefully, most of them are the need to be rare, and then, like, your legendary should be, you know, the cards you want maybe like 2 to 3 of maximum. You don't really want 4 of. Yeah, I really feel like that's what needs to be the way things are. So the Angel's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. I'll go through my legendaries after this, and maybe I'll take a look. Yep. So Bucktooth Commander. Yeah, it looks like my stream's really having some trouble here, so again, that's probably just because I'm uploading, so I'm really sorry for the quality of the stream right now. So I hope that it's pretty good. It might be, I wonder if it kicked it offline. No, it's still online, it's just dropping packets, that's all. Falconeer, yeah. Yep, definitely another great card there. That's another one that's probably going to be a 4 of, so you'll need a playset of it. Another thing you need to look at is how many decks some cards go in. When you're looking at the cards, like Gas Troll, for instance, is only going to go in 1 deck. So this card was crazy good back in the day when it was bugged, and you could play shards and pump it up. But now it's hardly played. It's hardly seen play at all. And so you could probably get a playset of Gas Troll pretty cheap, I would say. Obviously, like, so I start with $2 as a baseline because that's the price of the pack of cards. So maybe $3 or $4 for a Gas Troll, something like that. Whereas Falconeer is going to go in at least 2 different decks I can think of, and he's much more of a dominant card that can go in more versatile. So maybe that card might be worth $6 or $7, something like that. But a card that goes in like every deck, like probably like, for instance, what's it called? The Inquisitor. Inquisitor's going to be probably worth, I would say, probably 12 to 15 at least, maybe upwards of 20. Pact of Life is a junk rare, so like that would be definitely less than $2. Anything that's like junk rare where like people don't really want it, or what they call bulk rares, that's going to be less than your $2 mark. Is, you know, starting from that $2 price point is what I would say. And again, it's whatever it is that you want to bargain somebody for, because I've had people like say, "Oh, I see you have Olivia Voldaren. Is that for trade?" And I said no, and he goes, "Well, I'll give you this much for it." And I go, "It's not for trade, and I value it at this." And then he basically upped his price because I said, "Well, I value it at this." He's like at the end of the night, like he did that at the beginning of the night, and then at the end of the night, he still was trying to trade for my Olivia Voldaren. And he went ahead and took my price point and still tried to trade for it, even though I told him it was like off the shelf. I mean, and some people are really good at doing a lot of trading. So if you're a person that likes to do a lot of bartering, that's what you can do. Again, the price points are set by us, the secondhand market people, and it's how much would you pay to get a card. And when a set is in print, it's a lot easier to get a lot of the cards, and it depends on how much trouble you want to go through or trading and this and that. Typically when I buy a box of cards, I get like 1 of most of the rares. We're kind of like going through a box right now, so you can kind of get a good feel for what's going to come up. Azawa is probably not going to be worth too much. There is an alternate image, so there's going to be a lot in the market. So I don't see Azawa being worth that much. Also, you typically are only going to want 1 in your deck, for instance. So as he's probably one of the mythics that's going to be worth a little bit less, but I wouldn't call him a junk mythic particularly, because he does see play. Mythic, or I guess legendary. Again, we're running into some errors. Lord Alexander, on the other hand, is more of like a maybe a 3 of, a 2 of. Some people are going to run 4 because they really don't care about him overlapping with himself in specific decks where they really want that speed. But you know, cards like that, 2 or 3 of, like that's going to reduce the price again. So because there's more, you don't need as many in your collection. You just need what you need. So if you have 4, you might be able to get rid of 1. Bird of Plenty. I wouldn't say this is exactly a junk rare, but I don't see Bird of Plenty being worth too much more than $2, if it's even worth that much. I mean, I'm just giving my own like personal prices on these. I mean, this is like, again, prices are whatever it is that you feel a card is worth. So yeah, Extinction is going to be a must. It's like the only sweep in the game right now, so this is easily going to be worth $15 for a while. And then as we get more and more cards like it, or if it gets reprinted later, Extinction will go down in value. As there's more cards that are reprinted, it's supply and demand, of course, so we'll see the price go down, or something that's comparable to it, like if we see a basically Wrath effects. But because it's the only one and it's a must for all those control decks, it's probably going to be worth at least $15. Just because it's one of those cards that you need to have if you're playing control. Oath of Valor, probably not worth too much because it goes in that Shin Hair deck, so you could probably pick this up pretty cheap. Maybe probably less than $2. That $2, again, that $2 threshold, I would say. Yeah, I mean, whenever I'm buying a pack of cards, like all the cards in here, to me, are just kind of like chaff. Until I just buy it and hopefully I'll get my full play set. If I buy a box, for instance, and then after that, it's basically what rares did I get, how many did I get. There's a Servant. Servant is another deck which I think maybe $3, $2, somewhere in there. Not too much more than, I don't think I would price out Servant right now more than $3 personally. Also, we're starting low because our pack price is not $4, it's $2. So I mean, there's going to be a lot more ability for people to like spend money on the cards. The Kraken, probably not going to see a whole lot of play. So this is probably one of your junk legendaries, I would say. I mean, he's got some interesting things he does. He might be good in PvE, and that's another thing. Like, so just judging on PvP is one side of things, but then all these other secondary markets open up. Like whenever it is that people start doing like Commander in Magic, or if they start doing like a lot of multiplayer formats, or legacy formats or other things, certain cards will go up in value because they're just good in those formats. I think Chimes used to be legendary, and I guess it's not, so it's rare. Chimes is another one that you're probably not going to play more than 2 in a deck, so this is another one that probably will go pretty cheap. I would say no more than $3. So I wouldn't pay more than $3 for a Chimes. We might actually pull every card in the game here as we're going through it. Every rare or legendary card. I mean, we're going through almost 200 packs here. Ancestors Chosen is another must for a lot of different decks. This is a very versatile card, so I could easily see this being worth about $10 easily, because Ancestors Chosen goes in so many decks, and it's a must 4 of. So I mean, it could even creep up on $15 very easily, just because you need a playset of it and it's rare. Briar Patch Conjurer, probably not going to see a lot. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of play with this card, so this is kind of like in your junk bulk rare, less than $2, I would say. Ooh, let's see. Tectonic Break is another junk rare, so this is definitely less than $2. You'd be lucky to get more than $1 for this, I think, because it's just so unwieldy. Again, this might be better in some sort of PvE context because of the equipment you might be able to throw on it. And again, like, that just adds another dimension to the game, so cards that are bad in PvP might be pretty good in PvE. What is it, Elliot? Alright. Not to mention we've got the PvE to worry about. This guy is actually underplayed, I think, and so he could see a resurgence later. So Spirit Walker has some interesting abilities that he can do. He protects himself, so he probably isn't seeing enough play. right now, and there's a chance we might see him come back later. So I think that he's easily worth at least $3. Again, on that, a little bit above the pack price. He's just not seeing a lot of play. So you got to look at what else you could play in that 4-drop slot, and a lot of times people are going to want to play things like maybe Ascetic Aspirant or something like that. Alright, so there's another Servant. We already talked about Servant, so we'll go ahead and progress on. Servant is, again, one of those cards that's going to get better when we get more sets, so you have more things to fill in the gaps with it. After playing it with Diamond, I definitely feel like that's not the way to go, like with an Angel. With Angel Diamond, I don't think that's a good way to go. There's a Malice Demon. Another kind of junk rare, bulk rare. I mean, it's a big body. It's really good in draft, but other than that, I can't see people playing this card in Constructed. I mean, it's just kind of a vanilla body that's really expensive. If I'm going to pay like 8, like I could get Eternal Guardian, which completely negates that guy. So, you know, or I could get like, I don't know, I could get a lot of different things for that cost. I could get Urnaz, for instance, and Urnaz has a much bigger impact on the field. Of course, Inquisitor is going to easily cost probably between $15 and $20 because he's just so popular and he's a must-for of right now. And in the future, we might see people play less of him, but we'll see. Yep, let's see what else we got here. Judgment, another junk rare, bulk rare type of card. Really difficult to use, so probably won't see that go much more than $2 if it even gets up that high. It'll probably be like some other dollar sweep. That's just difficult to use. Alright, next card. Eye of Creation, of course, a really big key to the Eye deck. You need 4 of these. It is legendary, so along with the Angel, this will probably be another really expensive legendary, so probably easily $15 to $20 for Eye of Creation, I would say. So the other thing is that websites have like these algorithms that they run, and they see what people are buying and selling at, and so due to those, that's how it is a lot of people do their pricing. But again, it's whatever it is that you feel, you know? I mean, you can bargain with people. There's another Gas Troll. We already talked about Gas Troll a little bit. And Gas Troll's another one that might get better after we get more sets, and like it becomes, like, color fixing becomes a little bit easier. I mean, it's not too bad because of the way the system in Hex works right now, so we don't have to worry too much about color fixing because we're much different than Magic, but it would be nice to get 4 more in each of the different colors for the color fixing. There's a Midnight Shepherd, probably a pretty junk rare, bulk rare right now, because there's nothing that just gives me like all these at the same time. If there was, then he would get a little bit better. Another card that you could hold on to, and maybe he'll go up in value if we see something in future sets that works really well with him. That gives you all of your threshold, like all in one shot or something. Of course, something that gives you all your threshold is probably going to cost you like 3 or 4. Briar Patch Conjurer, okay. Probably be like an artifact. It'd be an expensive artifact. You'd probably be like 3 artifact, and you'd have to activate it, give you all your thresholds, sacrifice it, and that's all it would do. It wouldn't actually draw you cards or do anything else. It would just give you all, like 1 of every threshold. I think that would be. I mean, I'm not sure how much it would have to cost. It would probably cost 4, and then like to activate it would cost like 2. So it would set you back quite a bit, but give you all your threshold. I mean, something like that. I'd have to play around with the costs for something like that. Infernal Professor is another kind of like junk rare, very difficult to use kind of card. So it's probably going to be less than $2 for that. Incantation of Ascension. This is pretty decent end game card. It has a long wind up time like all the rest of the incantations, but it is a must-for of in decks, so I would say definitely above $2, probably in the $6 to $8 range. I know, Elliot, I see it. We're dropping packets. That's what's happening because we're doing too much on the internet. We need to get Google Fiber. Google Fiber needs to come to us. That's what needs to happen. Google Fiber, Elliot.
Google Fiber?
Yeah. Another Ritualist of the Spring Litter. I think you'll be able to get. You know, I think you'll, if you really want to build Shin Hair, I think it's going to be pretty easy to do. course you want to get down, because you're bored. That's what kids do. They get bored really fast. I have a theory about that. Sabotage for all those mill players, definitely less than $2. This is, your bulk rare dollar, maybe 50-cent rare. So I think that because a child is like so young, he doesn't have a lot of experience, like with time. That's why it is that they're always like, oh, it's taking forever, and they've only been sitting there for like a minute, like my son just did. He got tired of it. Root Dancers hasn't seen as much play, so it'll probably not be as expensive as we originally thought, especially because it's got that double threshold now. So, I mean, it's definitely a good card. Not as good as it used to be for Eye of Creation decks because, Eye of Creation used to put those resources into play. I think we'll see this more when you're not playing Eye of Creation and instead you're playing like, what are they called? The honey caps and stuff like that, and you're playing more of like this four-point top range. Then you might see Root Dancer a little bit more in those kind of stompy decks which are running a much lower curve. They're running like the Trolls and stuff like that. But, I'd say for that guy, he's definitely worth at least $5, $5 or $6. He's another must for of when you play him. You gotta play 4 Root Dancers when you play him. And I'm not sure. Okay, Shrine of Prosperity. Yeah, it's going to see some play. Some people are going to want to play it, but I don't see that being worth too much more than $2. Oh boy, just opening those packs. Another Drows. We already talked about Drows. It's another card you're probably going to want 4 of when you're playing Eye of Creation, but in other decks he might be a 2 of, so, probably $4 to $6, I would say, somewhere in there for Drows. Another Shrine. You also got to think about how many people are going to be flooding the market. So, I mean, in a normal market when everyone's already, we've already basically bought our cards back at Kickstarter time frame or during our other stuff. So it's how much more are we going to spend to buy more cards to complete collections and do stuff, or how much do we even need to? I mean, we've got a lot of people are going to be done with like get into beta, and then they're going to open up enough packs that they'll probably complete their collections like pretty quickly. Blessing of the Fallen, there's another really great card for those Inspire decks, which again need to get a little bit better. So this is maybe a 2 or a 3 of. I was saying it was like a must 4 of in those decks, but it's such like a dead card a lot of times. Yeah, maybe a 2 or a 3 of. So it's one of those that probably you'll play the extra 2 or 3 in your sideboard in your reserves. Castigator, still seeing some play in Mono Blood, so it's like a 1 of. So it probably won't be worth too much, maybe $3 for that guy, maybe less. What do we got here? Endbringer, probably not going to see a ton of play, so you could probably pick this guy up pretty quick, for pretty cheap, I would say. He's like a 1 or a 2 of top end for that Orc deck, and not too many people are going to be running the Orc deck, so he's probably worth an even $2, I would say. Maybe less. You could probably get him for less. There's that Castigator again. We already talked about that. 112 packs to go. We've almost made it through almost 100 packs. It's a lot of packs to go through. But hey, this is still faster than when I open them physically, so that's always good. Frost Wizard, again, another must reserves card, so probably $3 or $4, I would say, because he's going to counter a lot of the escalation cards that are out there. Putting together some sort of diamond weenie is going to be, he's going to be really good for that. There's that Angel of Dawn, easily worth $15 and $20. Maybe upwards of $25, just because it's just such a good early card when it does when you do top deck it. And we've seen it a lot of Angels in the last tournament that have come down, and you got to play at least 3 or 4 of them a lot of times in those decks. So Here we go, and this card is Yesterday. Put his troop in it. So Yesterday is probably going to be less than $2. It's useful, but it's very limited in its uses. It'll be mostly a one or two of in your reserves, I think, for those people that are playing some sort of I don't know, either stall deck or that's trying to mill, or it's going to be in those decks that you're going to try to do something else. Mouse Demon we already talked about. You're trying to do some sort of tempo, maybe. It could go in a tempo deck, but it's probably not that great in tempo. I mean, it's pretty good with Ancestors Chosen, so there's that, but what you really want for that deck is Ancestors Chosen first. Lord Ben, probably going to see some play, but, you know, he's like a 2 or 3 of again because he's unique, so probably not going to be worth too much, maybe $2 or $3, I'd say, unless there's something else that comes out to really help him out. I mean, he's a 1/1 body, so, and he is flying, but he isn't going to block for you or do a lot of other things that you may want him to do. Another Frost Wizard. Just talked about him. I kind of want to main deck some Frost Wizards. Try to play some sort of humans or something, see how that goes. Play against humans earlier with where what's his name was playing Hero of Adamant. That was interesting. Another Zombie Plague, legendary. Not sure how many legendaries I pulled, like maybe 5 or 6 in 70 packs, something like that. Something like that. Infernal Professor, again, we talked about this, kind of junky because it's just so hard to use and it goes in very few decks. I mean, you will want 4 of them, but you should be able to get them pretty easily if you decide that you're going to try to go into the janky route and play the janky Infernal Professor. Mushwaki, we haven't seen this guy hardly played at all. It may be his time to shine, really. I don't know. I mean, so the first time you sacrifice something, he does get out of range of a lot of the ruby removal. They could respond to that sacrifice, though. The thing is, like, you need to be able to sacrifice whenever you want to, not like when he comes into play, so I don't know. I could try it, but I don't see him being that great. He seems like he's mostly here for flavor, not for being competitive. Again, a lot of these cards could be better when you're playing PvE or something. There's another Root Dancer. Talked about him. Definitely a 4 of in most decks. Staple. Probably not going to go in ramp as much as he used to. Mostly in the low-end aggro decks, I would say. In Shinhair as well. I mean, you can play him in Shinhair and he works pretty well. Legionnaire Gwaine is a kind of a huge disappointment for me because he says to you, you must play a deck with tons of Inspired Troops, and that's not really the best way to play Inspired Troops right now. Because if you get swept out, it's like, well, nothing's in play. So Legionnaire is one of those cards that, like, he does nothing when nothing's on the field. He's just a 4/4 body. At least he costs less than what he used to. He's a little bit easier to cast. But I have swept people out in back at Gen Con with him, so that was always fun. Gore Feast, we saw this one. This is definitely going to pick up. This is not something you need first for your deck, but definitely for that Gore Feast deck that we saw J. Crawl play last weekend, this is going to be a must. So this is probably easily a $6, $7 card because it's just, it finishes out the game, closes out the game. It's very similar to cards like Time, whatever it is, the Time card. Mastery of Time, which gives you that extra turn. Again, let me know if the stream looks pretty crappy and I can stop and restart it. There's another Servant. Yep, not too much else to say about him. Again, the Servant is also one where you won't even attempt it if you unless you have your play set. So because you're losing so much, you have to diversify your deck and make it very inconsistent to play the Servant. There's that Frost Wizard again. Go. And there's another Midnight Shepherd. Again, probably junk rare status right now, but he could get better in the future. Another thing is it's virtually impossible to give Midnight Shepherd like speed, so you can't activate him the turn you put him into play, which would have been better, but you can't because he costs less than like Lord Alex. There's no aura that does that for him right now. Izumi went, yeah. I mean, another Shin Hair. Probably be able to get her pretty cheap as well. Definitely less than $2. It's a 3/5 that makes you tons of Shin Hair, which you could ramp into, I guess. Tatalka, this is definitely a great card that I think is going to see a lot of play. So it's still a 2 or 3 of, but it's going to be a little bit more popular than a lot of these other uniques. So probably at least $6, $7 somewhere in there. She has removal. She doubles your damage output. She does it all. Alright, so moving through. Giant Caterpillar. Yeah, I mean, this is another one that has seen some play for a little while, and then it seems to have fallen off. I haven't seen too many Giant Caterpillars lately. Yeah, you missed it, Elliot. Giant Caterpillar.
I missed it?
Yeah, you missed it. There's Heat Wave, another interesting card that's rare. It's another sweep, of course, so this is another must that you have for a lot of different deck types. So this is definitely going to be at least $8, maybe more, but it's definitely like your lesser version of Extinction for people that are in Ruby. But there are decks that I have seen that still play 8 sweeps, being the 4 Extinction and 4 Heat Wave. It's interesting that Heat Wave is at that rarity level. I feel like it could have been uncommon, but just like it is in Magic. But there's your Conjure again, another card I feel like is a junk rare, but apparently what we do is just let babies cry. Well, then go and play zombies. There's the Mushwaki again. I don't know, maybe I should try to play him in that deck. Well, there is like a thing where you can you have to sacrifice dudes to make resources, so that means that you don't have them to sacrifice to Mushwaki, so that probably hurts you. Elliot, go try use the potty, please.
No, I'm done being potty.
Say's done. Which means that he already went? I'm not sure what that means. Sabotage. Yep, another card that's kind of not really going to see a whole lot of play. Kind of a junk rare. Sabotage. Storm Colossus is going to see play, but very limited. Probably a 1 or a 2 of. If people are playing it, they'll play it in Control. So maybe a $4 card, maybe a $3 or $4 card for a Storm Colossus. But very limited play. I don't see it get used a lot, but it's a good finisher because it's got that spell shield and it's a nice big 6/6 body. It's going to put your opponent on a 4-turn clock, given that they haven't taken any damage and they haven't gained any life. Ash Harpy is seeing some play still, but at the 6 cost, it doesn't go in a lot of Ruby aggro decks. It goes in more like that Ruby control deck. So probably not. You'll probably be able to pick up Ash Harpy pretty easily. I would say, maybe $3, $2 to $3. It's about even, I'd say, on Ash Harpy. Nope. There's that Extinction again. At least $15 for this card, minimum. Upwards maybe of 20. I remember picking up Wrath of God for like $20 before, or seeing it for 20. So, and that's with regular Magic prices. What? Is it not your time? Is your time up? Oh, well, then you're gonna have to wait for Dad to get over there. I've still got some packs to go through, okay? No, you gotta wait, Elliot. It's updating. It's doing its updates. Yeah, it's doing its updates. There's a Ritualist of the Spring Litter. My wife is muttering to herself in the other room, which is great. It is funny to see like doubles of like uncommons in the same pack. This would I've never seen this happen in Magic that I can think of, and I've opened a lot of packs of Magic cards, so I don't know if this is an accident or if that's on purpose. I mean, if they're randomizing each card slot, then that can easily happen. But typically, if that kind of makes it a case that they are probably doing card slots and not press sheets for when you get your packs for the randomization factors. Yeah, there's an Urnaz. Again, this is kind of a one of, so maybe if just because it's a big dragon and other stuff, he'll be popular just because he's a big dragon. So maybe $6 or $7. So some cards also is just like just because they are who they are or what they are, collectors will go out and they'll go and collect them. Like someone out there, I'm sure is like, oh, I want to collect all the dragons, or someone else is going to be like, oh, I'm going to collect all the Shin hair, make sure I have all this Shin hair. So I have everything Shin hair, the collection complete. Another Ash Harpy we just talked about. Let's see what else. What else have we got here? It's the best around. Unmerciful Tormentors, we've seen people playing about 2 of, but you could play up to a 4 of this card in your deck. It's going to be easy to get a hold of, I think. Maybe $3 or $4 for Unmerciful Tormentor. Typically, if you buy a case of cards, you'll have almost a playset of all the legendaries, and you'll definitely have about 6 to 7 of every rare. So so a case of cards is 6 boxes when you're buying physical cards. Argus is going to be maybe a 2 of in some decks, but like most of the time it's going to be a 1 of. So I see him maybe as a $6 card. I love playing him in control because he's another card that I can use to control my opponent and just basically invalidate every drop that they have once he hits the board state and they can't deal with him. 70 something odd decks packs to go through. Another Wretched Brood. I haven't really seen this card take off. I'm not sure what my son's doing over there. As much as we've seen like other cards like Bitter Blossom and Magic take off, but again, Bitter Blossom and Wretched Brood are completely different except for the way that they work. It's what they put into play that makes the big difference. Because 1/1s that fly are way better than 0/1s that don't. For the cost of 1 life. Grolk, of course, is going to see a ton of play, so this is definitely a 4 of in some decks, and other decks it's going to be a 1 or a 2 of. So this is going to be a very popular card. This is going to see a lot of play, and so I would say maybe $6, $7. Elliot, you need to wait. Right, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of different ways you can go about things, and like the auction house is going to also guide a lot of prices and stuff, and so I'd say it's going to be so flooded at the beginning that prices are going to be pretty low. It'll be a great time. It's going to be a buyer's market when we first get in there. If you're selling cards, I don't know. There's probably a reason why you're trying to offload cards. I don't know that there's going to be that many people selling. Incantation of Savagery. Another one. I know that like when I played World of Warcraft, for instance, and like we would have an expansion that would release, I would go and I would mine all the different materials and stuff, and I would have the hardest time selling them on the auction house. Everybody's undercutting each other, and then once all the guilds started catching up and everyone started raiding, usually a month to a month and a half later, that's when it was that like prices started going up on all the materials you would farm and put on the auction house. So you really got to pay attention to that stuff. Again, my friend Mokog would be the best person to talk to about that type of thing, who is on my YouTube. Sliver of the Immortal Spear. Probably not going to see a ton of play. It's a very kind of fringe played card, not really very constructed competitive, so less than $2 I would say on that one. And basically all I'm doing right now is I'm speculating. So Don't hate speculators, because I don't control the market. It's you guys that decide to spend money on cards. That's who controls the market, really. But I mean, I guess it depends on how many people listen to me. I mean, as far as how much control I have. Inquisitor, again, we talked about, it's going to be at least $15, I'd say. At least 15, probably like up to 20, depending on how popular it is to play control. You need to wait, Elliot. I told you to wait. There's another Ragefire. So Ragefire is going to be pretty popular. It'll be easily be between $8 and $12, I'd say. Because it's just going to be a must for a lot of those Ruby decks. And so again, there's going to be basically the people that can afford to have the playset of Ragefire in their Ruby aggro deck, and everybody else is the way that the Ruby aggro decks are going to break down. Extinction, again, at least $15 to $20, because it's just ridiculous. Archmage Renlock, probably not going to see a ton of play. He's another, I wouldn't say he's exactly a, what do you call it, a junk legendary, but he's pretty close. You're not going to see a lot of play with this guy, because there's usually better things you can do it for. So you could probably pick him up pretty cheap. You know, probably around an even $2 or maybe $3 or $4. So Chris 039369, I do think that I will be able to start from scratch, and so I have my wife's account to prove this point. Once we have PvE content and the auction house, what I'm going to do is, on her account, I will play PvE content and trade on the auction house and build up, at least, you know, try to get something close to like a tier 2 deck to play against people. Here's an Eternal Guardian. And I'll pay tournament fees, and that will be it. So I really think that it's going to be possible, and just to prove a point, I'm going to be doing a visit. I do plan on doing a video series about building competitive decks and not spending money on the game, except for tournament fees, which are $1. And then if I win tournaments, or if I do well in the tournaments, then that, of course, those cards go into my collection. So there's a Zawa, the Cosmic Elder. Again, we talked about this guy. Probably going to see fringe play, maybe like 1 or 2 of. So that's the other thing, is like, just because certain cards are going to see fringe play, I could probably get them on the auction house. Like, I could get that Ozawa for my deck if I can't get like King Gabriel for my diamond deck, and he's still going to fulfill a similar role, whereas King Gabriel is going to be maybe better. It's not working. Well, you need to wait, Elliot. I'm still opening packs. I got like 68 more packs to open. Okay, can you wait? Alright. I know you need more squares. I know you know the squares are where you get your time. Well, don't fall out of the chair. Profit, they just buffed this guy. He now makes 3 threes. Probably still not going to see a ton of play. Probably definitely less than $2. I'd say maybe $1 for Profit. Prophet of Lordagon. For 7, I mean, you can do a lot of things with 7 resources, and Profit is probably not one of the things you want to do for 7 resources. He's not going to outright win you the game. Resurrection, on the other hand, is going to see a decent amount of play. I'm gonna click it. I'm gonna click it if I want to click it. But this is a card that you'll probably see like a 1 of in a deck, so it's going to be pretty easy to do. Elliot, you're bothering me. Elliot, I'm going through the cards right now. Okay. So Resurrection is probably worth, I would say, $4 or $5, because it's a 1 of. It's going to go in specific decks. So very, very specific decks for Resurrection. Chronic Madness is going to be, a lot of those people that want to do the mill strategy are going to want this card, but I think a lot of the competitive players are not going to, they'll be trading these away. So you could probably get Chronic Madness. It'll be the cheapest escalation card. Probably the cheapest escalation card. Right, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of PvE stuff, especially some of the super rare stuff. If you have duplicates of super rare things in PvE, because that's what you do, spend most of your time doing, then it's going to be one of those things where you'll be able to trade that away to those PvP players. And they're making it so that PvP players are going to want to do PvE because of the chests. So they did that to entice a lot of people that are going to put money on the game. So that way they ensure that people are going to want to do PvE, which ensures that your market value for your PvE cards is there. Because if it wasn't there, then that would just basically, we would have two markets, and that's not what we want. We want to have interactivity between the two markets. Will de Boer is another one that's really difficult to use. This is another one you could probably get pretty cheap if you're trying to do some sort of mono wild aggro with like a top out of 4 with like, what do you call them? Anyways, I think he's worth maybe like $2. He's maybe $2 even. You could do it with a top out of 4 for Honeycap, you know, something like that. Where you're not playing Eye of Creation, like the non-Eye of Creation mono wild aggro players. Distress Signal is pretty junky. This is kind of a junk rare, so it's going to be less than $2, maybe $1, if that, for that guy. Because it's just so hard to use. Again, a card that might be better, a lot better for PvE. Let's see, we got Splinter of Azahoth. This guy's going to see some play, I think. So in those, what do you call them, tempo decks, you're going to definitely see 1 to 2 of this guy. So probably at least $3, I would say. He's rare. So, I mean, it's not like there's not going to be that many in circulation. Again, some of the most expensive cards are going to be probably like Angel, Inquisitor, Extinction, cards like that. Shrine we talked about already. Shrine's probably going to see fringe play. It'll be probably pretty easy to pick them up if you need to. Apparently my son has decided to start counting for some reason. I'm not sure what he's counting. Okay, so there's Colossus. This is a card that's seen in those Eye of Creation decks as a 4 of. So if you're not going to play the Eye of Creation deck and you decided to just basically write it off, you could trade this guy off for pretty good value. And I would say at least $8 for this guy because he's definitely a lot better than what we originally assessed him at. He's definitely better than Fist now because of Eye of Creation. So if you don't have Eye of Creation, you're probably not going to want to play him. You'll want to play Fist if you're playing mono wild ramp. But if you have your playset of Eye of Creation, you're definitely playing Wrathwood Colossus over Fist of Brigadon. Right, yeah, exactly. The guild keep thing is going to help out with the PvE side of the game. So they're very mindful of the two sides of the game. So I think that's definitely more props to Cryptozoic. We already talked about Oath of Valor. Again, it's probably mostly for those Shinhair decks that are going to decide to dip into Diamond. I kind of want to try Oath of Valor in some sort of white weenie deck where I play like Protectorate Defenders, and that way I buff the Protectorate Defender and he's always buff with it. Seems decent at least. Life Siphon is another chase card kind of, but it's falling off, so maybe $3 or $4 for these. It doesn't affect board states. It's for a very specific deck, I would say. I'm not a big Life Siphon fan, particularly these days. Even before, when it was really good and there was no counter magic in the game, like I didn't like playing it. It just felt kind of cheesy. Soul Marble is another really popular card, is the guy on my Twitter feed. But again, this is a card where I don't like playing 4 of it, personally. I'm sure there are some people that do like playing 4 of it, but the thing is, if I top deck 4 of these in my opening hand, I'm not doing anything for like the first like 3 or 4 or 5 turns, and it's just a really bad situation to be in, especially if I'm going up against like Mono Ruby. So I personally have a hard time running more than like 2 of these in a deck. But other people are running 4, so it's very difficult to assess Soul Marble, I would say. Maybe $4, $5 probably for Soul Marble. But I wouldn't go too much higher than that because it's one of those cards that I can deal with it. Like there are things that do deal with it directly. If they make it into armaments, I can exile it. If they make it into the cavalry, then hopefully I have a blocker for it or something. Mirror Knight, on the other hand, this card will be... we've seen a ton of play with Mirror Knight. He's easily worth at least $10. drawing you cards. He's a nice body. He trades with a lot of stuff on that low end Ruby deck. He's got one of the best buffs for inspire troops in the game, and his cost makes him inspire almost every troop. So easily worth $10 because you need a playset of him. Everybody's going to want him. He's going to go in control. He's going to go in. He's going to go in aggro decks. He's going to go in. He goes in like every deck type. He goes in combo decks maybe. He goes in tempo decks, which is a variant of control. The zombie plague. Talked about zombie plague earlier. Let's see what else we got here. Induction coil. I did see an interesting deck that was running like 40 resources with this, with the champion that puts dudes into play. Seemed interesting. Not sure how much play it's going to see. Probably it's less than $2 card. It's kind of a junk rare. Kind of in that junk rare category. Basically anything less than $2 is a junk rare, and $2 and up and like is decent. Tomb Lord is just a vanilla body to me. This is probably one of the junkiest legendaries that you can have. Because that's all he is. He's just a big body, and people can win with him if you're playing mill or whatever it is you're trying to run him in. But if you're playing mill, we got other problems. So, hey, what's going on, Mythosiris? I think it's been a while since I've seen you on my channel. Been a little while. We got like 50 more packs to go through here, and then we'll be done. Just kind of giving some analysis as we go through them. Here, my son is pulling DVDs out. Hopefully he doesn't scratch anything. King Gabe is going to be a 1 or a 2 of in a lot of decks. Highly sought after, so I would say maybe $7 for him. But he's unique. You're probably going to play like 1 or 2 of them in your deck. He's just a great all-around finisher for those control decks, so he's going to see some play. Alright, moving on. Another Soul Marble. We already talked about Soul Marble. I know people are gonna. I know people are gonna diss me for that Soul Marble like rant that I kind of went off on. No, don't climb up on the shelves. You're gonna hurt yourself. Spirit Dance is another card that's kind of very difficult to use. No. Wait. I told you to wait. Very difficult to use because you're basically throwing away a turn. I mean, it costs 5, and then hopefully you'll draw the troops that it buffed. And so in theory, it's really good, but most of the time it's not going to do a lot for you, unless you're like drawing tons of cards, which you could run it with Sapphire, but there's probably better things. So this is kind of junky. I would say less than $2 for Spirit Dance. It's kind of in that junk rare category for me. We already talked about Distress Signal. Pretty junky card. And again, like just because there are junky cards in the game, that's how every card game has to work. There has to be bad cards. Otherwise, if everything was good, then you would just... that's power creep. So we have to have bad cards to make sure we keep things in some sort of balance, because otherwise we couldn't have good cards. Construction Plans, Ingenuity Engine. Another card that's going to be maybe sought after by those dwarf players, but you probably pick it up pretty cheap. I would say less than... This is kind of in that junk rare category right now, but it could get better later as we get more and more artifacts. But then again, it is less good because then you're randomly generating artifacts that you don't know, and so it could always generate itself. But a lot of times it's going to be a dead card for you as a dwarf player. A lot of times, so I would say less than $2, kind of in that junk rare category. Life Siphon we just talked about, so definitely at least, I would say at least $4-ish. Luckily I haven't been assaulted by children or wives just yet. I have not too much left to go through. Frost Wizard we talked about already. Alright, what else? 45 packs left to go through. And then I'll look at the breakdown on my chest. I basically have opened about 250 packs for this whole thing, so I should have about that many chests. Shrine of Prosperity we already talked about. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And again, you can do these 10 at a time. I'm just doing this for that one person out there that's going to like record all the commons and uncommons and put them in some sort of spreadsheet or whatever. Lord Alexander is, you know, really good as a 2 or 3 of in your collection to get into most decks, I would say. We already talked about him. Try not to repeat too much stuff because, you know, we already talked about it. This video is kind of going, I wouldn't say going long, but Judgment, kind of, that's your junky sweep, so definitely less than $2. I wonder what my average is for opening these packs. It's probably like, maybe, hopefully like 3 packs a minute. There's that wonderful Angel of Dawn, so easily $20, $25. Easily. Probably the most expensive card in the set right now for PvP. Just because it's a must for of, and it's going to be highly sought after. I mean, it's an angel. The art's pretty good on it too, I think. Izumi, there's your, you know, again, bunnies are not really going to be a thing, so you can get Izumi pretty cheap if you ever needed to. Pretty easily. Okay, let's see here. Puck the Dreamer, another seek after if for all those people that are going to decide to play with whatever it's called, Eye of Creation decks. So yeah, I mean you should be able to get a hold of him if you're an Eye player pretty easily. I'd say maybe $5 somewhere in there. He is rare, so it's going to be difficult to get a hold of, but he's only good in the one deck, so I don't see him creeping much more up on than that. I mean, $5 is probably his high-end price, as you know, whereas his low end will be like 3, so it's probably 3 to 5 for Puck the Dreamer, I would say. Fulmination is going to be played in a specific deck. Hey, what's going on, Nero? Just doing some pack openings. It's going to go in very specific decks. It's probably not going to be highly sought after. I wouldn't say it's a junk rare. It's definitely a great, fun card to have. So probably an even $2 on this Cerebral Fulmination right now, because it could, you know, it's going to see play. People are going to enjoy playing it. So I could see people wanting to have. You want to have a playset of it if you're going to play it for sure. So Tectonic Break, again, another junky sweep. So definitely less than $2 on that guy. Probably in the less than $1 range for that guy. And Chimes, we already talked about Chimes a little bit earlier. Another card that now is unique, so you're probably not going to run more than 2 of it in the deck. Of course, the expensive part of a Chimes deck is probably going to be Mastery of Time. Mastery of Time is going to be a highly sought after card. You'll probably play 4 of. Spirit Dance we just talked about. Just saw one of those. 35 packs left. Almost done. Now I can stop my local recording and log my son onto his computer, and he can play Plants vs Zombies. Reginald is I wouldn't say he's exactly a junk rare. He's going to be sought after just because he looks so awesome. I mean, like, so the PvE equipment, one of the equipment says that, like, when he's in your opponent's deck, he fights cards and kills them and moves up the deck, which is, like, something you could only do in a digital space. I kind of want to see the cards, like, pop out and, like, him, like use his sword or something and, like, chop the other card up and then get reinserted into my opponent's deck. That by itself is pretty awesome. So I mean, I'd value him at maybe $3. He is legendary. He's going to be highly sought after, I think, by the PvE players just because of that equipment. But PvP probably not going to see a whole lot of play. So just because the PvE side of him is so great, that's probably why he's going to be worth $3. Another Azawa we already talked about. Again, there's going to be a ton of these in circulation. With the alternate art from people getting it from Gen Con. I'm going to have to search through my email to get those codes for... they sent us codes from Gen Con, so Another Wrathwood Colossus. We already talked about Wrathwood Colossus. He's going to be a really good must card for a lot of those Eye of Creation players. I'd say at least $8. Still dropping frames here. There's another Ragefire, another must for all those mono Ruby players. And again, that's what's going to separate you as a mono Ruby player is do you have Ragefire or don't you? That's going to be the main separator. There's usually, in most mono Ruby decks, they are cheapest, but they usually have like 1 or 2 4 of money card, and that's definitely the one for that deck, I would say. I haven't seen like Zoltog yet or anything like that either. I'd say Zoltog is probably worth 5 or 6 maybe, but definitely the Ragefire is worth more than Zoltog because you need 4 of them. Zoltog you need like maybe 2. Plan C is another one you should be able to get pretty cheap. It's really hard to use if people decide to use it at all, so it's kind of in that bulk rare status because it's just one of those cards that you could use and it backfire completely, and it's a one of at best, so you really only need 1 in your collection. You're not going to play more than that. There's that Fist of Brigadon. It lost a lot of value from now that we've got the Wrathwood Colossus, so not as good as what it used to be. I mean, Fist is just a fun card to play. He is tough to deal with, but this Threshold makes him really hard to play with Puck because you have Puck in play, but you don't meet the Threshold requirements. I mean, he's just really clunky to play now, so I really don't see Fist being as useful as he used to be, which is surprising because, you know, if you had talked to me about 4 months ago, then, you know, that would be completely different. Another legendary card, but I think Fist will be, if you want to play with Fist and you're not playing Eye, which would be the way to play him, in my opinion, then you shouldn't have as much of a hard time getting him. There's another Izumi. Already talked about her. Seen like quite a few Izumis here. So like with the pulls I have, like trade cards I have, like Izumi would definitely be one of them because I don't see myself wanting to have more than 2 in a deck. Relentless Corruption is another one. This is one of my favorites. I think this is going to be a good chase card too. At least $8 for this guy. Draws you cards. I mean, it's a card drawing engine that also has the secondary win con of making my opponent draw out. So in the control matchup, this card is just crazy good. It comes down to who can draw the most Relentless Corruption in that matchup. So here we go. This one, another Sabotage. We've got another 25 packs to go through. So I guess you could start counting now, and this is like all you people with Slacker backers. This would be like you could like kind of count these 25 packs. So there's a Battle Beetle. Battle Beetle is really good. I see this being played a lot more than Fist of Brigadon actually, because you can give it Spell Shield. So I see this playing. This is going to get. This is going to see a lot of play in those Eye of Creation decks as a 4 of or 2 to 4 of somewhere in there. So this is definitely worth at least $4 or $5, maybe more. I'd say. It's just a great card. It goes in a lot of decks. Cards with those major sockets are probably going to be some of the cards that you're going to see be the most expensive because they're just so versatile. They're going to go in a lot of decks. Blessing of Fallen we already talked about as a buff. Probably be able to get it pretty easily because Inspire is really not that powerful right now. It's as far as like a whole deck that's Inspired. Most of the time you're using, you know, 1 or 2 Inspired troops in your deck, and so you've got like, you know, 4 or 8 chances at getting that Inspired troop in play. Already talked about Servant. And I know that there's probably some skipping in the video right now, so I'm really sorry for that. I will be posting this on YouTube, and it'll look just fine because I've got my local recording running right now. I'll probably reset my connection after this. So another Storm Colossus. We talked about Storm Colossus being the 1 or 2 of in those control decks. You know, like if you don't have Argus, you could play Storm Colossus in your control deck, and you know that's perfectly fine too. Tatalka we talked about, really good for those Ruby control decks. Probably not going to see a lot of aggro play but it probably will see. She'll probably see play in. She could see play in some sort of Ruby deck that runs Eye of Creation. Another Soul Marble. Everyone knows my feelings on Soul Marble. Not saying it's a bad card. It's just a slow card. A lot like Totem, which we actually haven't seen Totem yet. So if Totem, I think, is at least $5, probably upwards, $5 to $8, because again, it's a slow build up, but it is a nice 2/2 body. Elder Streamer is going to be really sick. I mean, this is going to see a lot of play. You're going to want 2 to 4 of, depending on the deck. A lot of times you're going to want 2. So easily $7 or $8 on Elder Streamer. Draws you cards, does a lot of things for you. It has that major socket that you're looking for. Okay, we're almost done. Almost done. This is a lot of packs to go through. Incantation of Fury. Again, it's an incantation. I'm not really a big deal. This is probably the worst incantation, so this is kind of in your bulk rare area. So probably less than $2. You could probably pick up a playset for $4, $1 a piece, something like that. Incantation of Fury. You're probably not gonna. I mean, I guess if you don't have Ragefire, you could play Incantation of Fury. Or if you don't have your playset of Ragefire, you could replace it, I guess, with Incantation of Fury. There's that Angel of Dawn, another, at least $20, $25 for Angel of Dawn, I'd say. Yeah, I'm really not sure how it is that John's going to do the pricing on the website. So, as far as that goes, or what is there an algorithm or what is that they do there, or if John just sets all the prices manually. Plan C worth maybe $1 again, because it's just one of those. It's a one of, and a lot of times people are just not going to want to play it. Yeah, we already talked about Plan C. So with 50 packs of cards, you probably won't have play sets necessarily of a lot of your commons and uncommons. You might have play sets of some of the commons. Chaos Key is another one that's a big reserves card or sideboard card. So this is kind of a big deal, and it's a one of in a lot of decks. So this card is easily worth $10, maybe all the way upwards of $15. It did lose a little bit of value now that we have the Solitary Exile in the game, which is uncommon, I believe. So if you're in Diamond, you're not going to run Chaos Key a lot of times, but so that's like the one shard where you're not going to run Chaos Key, but everything else you're going to run Chaos Key. Curse of Oblivion, great sideboard or reserves card for you. So this will probably be a $3 or $4 card. It's not really a must, but it can ruin your day. It can dump all the counter magic out of your opponent's deck and do a lot of things like that for one resource. So that's always good. You just have to catch it on the stack. That's the trick. You got to have that resource, and you got to catch it when it's on the stack. Another Fist of Brigadon. We talked about him recently. Almost done here. We've got another 12 packs. 12 packs to go. I hope everyone has a good Easter tomorrow. We got done. We did some egg coloring earlier. Pact of Pain, probably a 2 of in decks that decide they're going to try to play it. So maybe a $3 or $4 card. It's another card that can really get you into trouble, where it is that you get your health too low and your opponent just kills you outright on their turn. You untap and your opponent has something to deal direct damage or haste or something like that. Of course, you got to be careful. You should know that if you're playing against Ruby, like for instance, that there's a lot of haste troops. Vampire King's another big money card. He's another legendary, so easily $15. When he hits the board, he just affects so many things. Probably because he's going to be harder to get a hold of than Inquisitor. We're going to see a lot more Inquisitor being played than Vampire King, but we did see a lot of 4 of Vampire King, to the point that I've seen people play in the last tournament like 3 of Inquisitors. Well, sorry that you don't celebrate Easter. Gore Feast of Cod, we already talked about this. Great card, easily $8. It's a buff. You need to get all the other cards to work with it. You're probably going to run 2 in a deck. I hope you have a good Sunday. Do you celebrate Sunday? And by celebrate, do you wake up? How about that? Wretched Brood. Yeah, we already talked about that. Again, not as good as the Magic version, which is whatever it was called. I'm losing my mind. The fairy one. Bitter Blossom, not like Bitter Blossom. Elliot, just wait. Reginald, we already talked about. Let's see. With this, I've opened like 300 packs after I've done all these videos, somewhere around there. Plus, I already had playsets in my collection, so it's gonna be, if I subtract 4 from every card, you'll be able to see what I've got in my collection, like how much. 300 packs is a lot, though. I mean, that's a ton. You'll probably want to draft it mostly. We already talked about Gas Troll. Basically, it goes in one deck, and that deck is not the most competitive, unfortunately. There's a yesterday, okay. Oh, well, there you go. See? Celebrate Sunday by not working. Sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a good way to celebrate Sunday. What's happening? Yesterday we already talked about. We've got 3 packs left. Elliot, wait. I'll be right over there. Crash of Beasts is another card that's probably lost a lot of value. We haven't seen it being played a lot lately, so this is another card that's a great escalation card that should be worth like $8 or $9, but because of Eye of Creation and it's just seeing very limited play, it's probably going to end up at around 5 or 6. Saw a lot of play early on when we didn't have Eye of Creation decks, but now because it's counterproductive for those, a lot of people in Wild are going with Eye of Creation over Crash of Beast. So it's a card that you could easily pick up. You could also play it. I play it in Shinhair tokens because it gives me token rhinos as an alternate target for Oath. So great card, still a great card, easily worth $6 at least. Could be worth more in a different environment. And you definitely, again, escalation cards you need 4 of, so that's another thing that's going to raise its value. Spirit Dance we already talked about, and the last pack, let's see what we get. Drum roll, and Royal Falconer. That's a pretty good way to end. So got quite a lot of really good cards. Let's look at how many chests we've got here. We've got a ton of chests, so I'm guessing the really nice chests are, that's a legendary, so I've got 12. So I opened up at least 300 packs. I've seen 3 of the packs were the primal pack out of 300, so that's like one in 100 packs was primal. I've got 12 legendary chests, 152 common chests, and I believe the primal pack comes with these legendary chests, so 3 of those are from primals. I've got 67 uncommon chests and another 20 rare chests. I guess that uncommon is the what's the worst? Oh, common. So yeah, of course, common, uncommon, rare, and then legendary. Let's go look at my collection real quick and see what I've got on a lot of my cards. If I don't have playsets of anything, I should have playsets of most things. I'm not going to look at commons and uncommons. I'm just going to look at rares. So let's go sort by rarity. And I'm pretty sure I've got a ton of cards basically now. Plus this doesn't count the drafts that I've done. At least 300 packs. I've opened at least 300 packs. Probably maybe upwards of 320 because of drafts and stuff. So yeah, I mean, those are all uncommon, uncommon, uncommon. Okay, so starting looks like with Time Bug is for my first rare card, so I'm just looking to see if I don't have playsets of anything. So I didn't get a playset of Chaos Key. I didn't have a playset of Slaughter Gear. Ingenuity Engine, Shrine of Prosperity, I've got 11. We got that. Playset, playset, playset. No playset on surge mechanism. Don't really need one. Chimes, not a playset. Place like almost 3 playsets, almost 2 playsets of servant. I guess I should probably put the cards back from my. What's this? We're gonna start a new deck, so that way it puts all the cards in the back up here, because otherwise it's not gonna show them. So we'll make sure we're due by cost again. Oh, not cost, but rarity. There we go. Let's see here. Again, we're looking to see what we didn't get playsets of. So yeah, again, Chaos Key. Mirror Knight, I don't have a playset of that, but that just came out. I don't have a playset of Chosen. And again, you can trade for a lot of things. I'm not sure how soon we're going to have trading in the game, though, either. If that's probably not going to be available right away. I didn't get a playset of Hop Hero. I don't have a playset of Claw the Mountain God, but I'm not too heartbroken about that. I only have one. I only got one Demented Demolisher in 300 packs. Mushwaki's got 2 of those. I got a playset of Inquisitor. That's kind of a big deal. I only got one Relentless Corruption. I did get a playset of Extinction, which is pretty important. No playset of Curse of Oblivion. I got a ton of Frost Wizard. I got a playset and +1 on Living Totem. Protector Defender did not get a playset there. Princess Victoria, I have 2. But I don't need that many. Playset of Cloud Knight. 1 Aspirant. I got no Lord Adam. In 300 packs, I got no Lord Adam. I'm basically just subtracting 4 from all these numbers. Only 1 Incantation of Righteousness, but I really don't care too much about that. I need to have a playset of Trial of Faith, but should be able to get that pretty easily. Immortality, but don't really care too much about that. Again, this could be indicative of something, it could not. I mean, it's kind of difficult to say. But, I mean, I could easily, with 300 packs open, you could easily make a deck and trade for what else you need. Crash the Beast didn't get a playset there. I did get a playset of Ragefire, which is kind of important. Heat Wave, no playset there. Ash Harpy, don't really care too much. This guy's kind of new. Again, because I'm looking at cards that, like, I opened up cards at different phases when not all the cards were released. Like, if there are newer cards, I may not see them. So, interestingly enough, looking at the legendaries, I almost have a playset of Eternal Guardian, Argus. I've got half a playset for Comet Strike, just 1 Archmage Renlock, 1 Kraken, 1 Cosmic Transmogrifier. Only 1 Mastery at Times, kind of a big deal. 2 Vampire Kings, though. 2 High Tomb Lord, 1 Urnaz. I got a playset of Zombie Plague, but that's more of a sideboard cards. I got playset +1, plus whatever 3 on Angel of Dawn, though. That was like, that's crazy good. So like, this is the best card you can pull for trade fodder, because you can trade this easily as a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 for a lot of cards if you want to get them. Azawa. Apparently, okay, so this is King Gabe. So I have a playset of King Gabe. Not really that necessary. I could probably trade one of those off. No playset of Pack Raptor, but he's probably not going to see a ton of play unless you're trying to get those achievements. Jadim, I got no Jadims. It's just kind of a big deal with Eye of Creation. I did get a playset of Fist, but I only got 2 Eye of Creation. I got no... Okay, throw it away, your necklace. So, I got no Zoltogs in 300 packs. Kind of a big deal for a lot of that Ruby stuff. So you definitely want to trade for some of those if that happens to you. If you're trying to play Mono Ruby, that is. And, of course, we got Trask and Crown. So, yeah. Well, yeah, and again, like, typically what they do is, like, every card has, like, a unique identifier, and once it's created, and so it's like virtual currency, and once it's created, like, it is what it is. It's very difficult to tamper with, because it's kind of got, like, a encryption algorithm sitting behind it, and it's also being handled server-side. Elliot, wait. I told you to wait. Can you wait? No. I need to play the games. Alright, well, I need to get off so I can at least reset my stream and get my son's stuff working. So thanks for stopping by and watching me open all those packs for all of you people that were like here the whole time. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be posting this on YouTube soon in the future. And yeah, I will. Until next time, this is Darren Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families, and try not to race too much out there.